Welcome back to Fascinating History, where today we discuss the most disgusting habits medieval Europeans practiced that are unacceptable in today's world. It's important to approach the topic of medieval hygiene with nuance. While some practices might strike us as disgusting by modern standards, it's crucial to understand them within their historical context. Access to clean water, sanitation systems, and medical knowledge was vastly different. That being said, here are some habits that would likely be considered unhygienic today. Alright, let's delve into the often uncomfortable realities of medieval European hygiene, expanding on those 10 points and contextualizing them within the broader social and medical understanding of the era. Before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe to stay up to date on the latest content. Now let's get started. The paradox of cleanliness, infrequent bathing, and the humoral theory. The modern concept of daily bathing was foreign to most medieval Europeans. While the wealthy might have access to heated water and private tubs, the vast majority relied on infrequent bathing, often limited to seasonal cleansing. This wasn't necessarily out of sheer laziness. The prevailing medical theory of the time, rooted in Galenic humoralism, played a significant role. Humoralism posited that the body was composed of 4 humours: blood, phlegm, yellow bile, and black bile. And imbalances among these humours led to illness. Bathing, it was believed, could disrupt this delicate balance by opening pores and allowing harmful vapours to enter the body. This fear, coupled with the practical difficulties of heating large quantities of water, contributed to a reluctance to bathe frequently. Public bathhouses, while existing, were often associated with prostitution and the spread of disease, further discouraging their use. Instead, people relied on wiping down with cloths, using scented oils, and changing undergarments to maintain a semblance of cleanliness. The stench of civilization, limited waste disposal, and urban decay. Medieval cities were notorious for their stench. The lack of effective sewage systems meant that human and animal waste was often disposed of in the streets, rivers, or open ditches. This created a breeding ground for disease and contributed to the pervasive foul odours that permeated urban life. The cry of "Gardy Loo," watch out for the water, echoed through narrow streets as residents emptied chamber pots from their windows. The problem was exacerbated by the close proximity of humans and animals. Livestock was often kept within city walls, and tanneries and slaughterhouses discharged waste directly into waterways. This lack of sanitation contributed to the frequent outbreaks of disease, including dysentery, cholera, and the bubonic plague. The agony of decay, poor dental hygiene, and the absence of care. Dental hygiene was virtually non-existent. Coarse bread, sugary fruits, and a lack of effective cleaning methods led to widespread dental problems. Toothaches were common, and teeth were often worn down or lost at a young age. While some rudimentary teeth cleaning methods existed, such as rubbing teeth with cloths or using abrasive powders, they were largely ineffective. Dental procedures were performed by barber surgeons, who also performed other surgical procedures. These procedures were often painful and unsanitary. The lack of anesthesia and sterilization techniques meant that infections were common. The invisible threat, limited hand washing, and the absence of germ theory. The concept of germs was unknown in the Middle Ages. While some recognized the importance of cleanliness, they did not understand the role of microorganisms in spreading disease. Hand washing, therefore, was not a routine practice. While some hand washing did occur, particularly before meals, it was not as frequent or thorough as modern practices. This lack of understanding contributed to the rapid spread of infectious diseases. People were unaware that contaminated hands could transmit disease, and they often shared cups and utensils without concern. The persistence of parasites, clothing hygiene, and the inevitability of lice. Clothing hygiene presented its own challenges. Washing clothing was labor-intensive, particularly for garments made of wool, which was the most common material. Undergarments, such as linen shifts, were changed more frequently, but outer garments were often spot cleaned or brushed rather than washed. This led to the prevalence of lice, fleas, and other parasites. These pests were a constant source of irritation and discomfort, affecting people of all social classes. While combs and other remedies were used, complete eradication was nearly impossible. The perils of preservation, food hygiene, and the risk of rot. Food preservation was a constant challenge in the absence of refrigeration. Foodborne illnesses were common, and the lack of understanding about food safety contributed to the problem. Food could easily become contaminated by insects, rodents, or spoiled ingredients. Methods of preservation, such as salting, smoking, and pickling, were used, but they were not always effective. The lack of sanitation in kitchens and markets further increased the risk of food contamination. The bleeding cure, medical practices, and the risk of infection. Medieval medical practices, while well-intentioned, often contributed to unsanitary conditions. Bloodletting, for example, was a common practice performed by barber surgeons. The lack of sterilization techniques meant that infections were common. Wound care was also inadequate. Wounds were often cleaned with dirty water or covered with unclean bandages, leading to infections. Surgical procedures were performed without anesthesia, causing immense pain. The open sewer, public sanitation, and the spread of disease. Public latrines existed in some cities, but they were often poorly maintained and unsanitary. The lack of proper sewage systems meant that waste was often dumped into rivers or ditches, contaminating water supplies. This lack of sanitation contributed to the spread of waterborne diseases. The close proximity of people in urban areas further increased the risk of infection. The shared space, animal husbandry, and zoonotic disease. The close proximity of humans and animals in medieval life increased the risk of zoonotic diseases. Livestock was often kept in or near homes, and animals were allowed to roam freely in the streets. This led to the spread of diseases such as anthrax, rabies, and tuberculosis. The unavoidable companions, personal parasites, and the acceptance of infestation. Lice, fleas, and other parasites were an unavoidable part of medieval life. People of all social classes were affected. While some attempts were made to control infestations, such as using combs and herbal remedies, complete eradication was nearly impossible. The acceptance of these conditions as a part of everyday existence highlights the difference between our modern society and that of the medieval era. Tell us what you think down in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay up to date on the latest videos. And as always, see you in the next video.